signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
As for execution of stormwater operation and maintenance agreement for the Kennedy Property Management LLC located at 3808 Market Street, Campbell, as an association with a stormwater permit. We currently have a program where if you increase the impervious area of your property by more than 1,000 square feet, you're required to get a stormwater permit. And part of that process is to enter into an O&M agreement so we can ensure long-term operation of the stormwater best management practices.
Very good. Somebody want to make such a motion?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded to authorize the execution of that agreement. Questions on the motion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
My report's in your packet. I just would like to state that the speed limit monitors that are intended to be installed on Woodsville Road will likely be installed next week. We've had some delay relative to the size of the signs and the posts that are required to install. So,
Next week.
That is the goal. I fully anticipate no later than Friday next week we should have those installed. Again, they are temporary signs that will be installed for periods of 2 weeks and from time to time and used for enforcement by the police department.
Is there a chance to get expedited shipment for those?
We now have everything we need. It's just that for one call, and
Okay.
I don't want to commit to it tomorrow. All likelihood, it'll be Monday or Tuesday.
All right.
This isn't something that John Gaspich and I have to go do.
Well, I was going to ask John if he didn't mind. I mean, if he didn't.
I'm more than happy to use a vacation day to reimburse me my hourly rate.
Yeah,
I think it's cheaper for you to do it yourself.
my hourly rate's a lot cheaper.
Not in the township.
I thought it was an educational process. We pay the township.
No, I would want to get her while working.
No, I'm the one that would get hurt, John. But anyhow, thank you
I
very
have
much.
nothing else, sir.
I appreciate the update on that. We've been waiting patiently, sort of. Okay. Anything else? Do you have anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. Township Manager's report.
Good evening, Commissioners. Just a brief comment relative to a recent notification that I received from the Emergency Health Services Federation relative to a random spot inspection that they conducted on one of our ambulances that is licensed through the Department of Health as well as the crew. Happy to say, feather in the EMS department's cap, that they passed the spot inspection with flying colors and no violations or issues were determined by the Department of Health.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to extend appreciation and recognition to the EMS department. Those spot inspections are just what they are, spot inspections, and you never know when it's going to occur and what situation you may be in when you arrive at the said medical facility. So to pass the spot inspection that you had no opportunity to plan for, kudos to our EMS operation.
Agreed. So moving on, progress report for the municipal building. There's a memo in your meeting packet. Work performed in January. The roof installation is complete. I'm happy to say there was a delay in that installation due to the number of construction projects in the central Pennsylvania area. I'm hoping to receive an updated project schedule on Monday morning at the next progress meeting, and we'll report back to you if there's been any extension to the contract as a result of that. Metal stud framing and sheeting is underway. Mechanical, plumbing, and fire suppression trays are on site and installing equipment. Windows are almost finished being installed, and weatherproofing of the exterior walls are underway. The only other issue to report at this point in time is trying to press PP&L to issue the permit for the utility line service to the municipal building. A determination on that was made a number of months ago at a public meeting, and at this point I'm pressing, along with assistance from the contractor and Jeremy, PPL, to get that permit issued so that we can proceed with the utility work that needs to occur. I have a number of payments this evening that I need to request. As noted on the agenda, I ask that you approve pay application number 8 for ECI Construction in the amount of $481,663.73.
Is there any reason why we can't do all 6 at once?
Perfectly fine if the board wishes to
Can we
do
talk
so.
about B?
I will just say that the possible action items of the payments noted on my memo to you, all of those have been reviewed by the architect and reviewed by myself as the project manager, and all are within the limits in accordance with the contract documents, and 10% retainage is being withheld on all of those payments.
I'll move it all 6 weeks.
I have a motion, is there a second? Moved and seconded to pay the 6 bills. Questions on the motion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Pay the bills.
Thank you, Commissioners. Item B, under the Managers section, I have to give credit to Dave Fletcher, your Assistant Manager, and Scott McGee, who's in the back of the room, our IT Manager. Scott, you can move to the front of the room if you would, please. At any rate, they did a fantastic job of researching additional items that were not within the current contract related to IT services and security services that the building has a need for. And as noted on the agenda, they've obtained multiple quotes from both CoStar's vendors and other vendors that may not be on state contract. It would be our recommendation to you this evening, but happy to answer any questions you may have, that you take action to approve all of those items. They were planned for and budgeted for in the 2020 budget as part of the construction project.
I'll accept the motion to approve B, letters I through VII.
Second.
Moved and seconded, on anything on the question? Just want to, for the people who pay attention to these things, we had a workshop meeting, and a lot of this was, for security reasons, was done in an executive session, and people that are in tech can understand that. But I want to personally thank the professionals on the staff who put a lot of time and effort into this, because I didn't know what the heck they were talking about, and that's probably just as well. You know, it's a high-tech type thing, and honest to goodness, when I left, I was very, very impressed with the staff that we have that was able to put this thing together and give Hampden Township what I believe to be a very, very good package. And I know John Gaspich, he was able to understand what they were saying, and he says he did.
Well, kudos to staff for putting up with all my questions and
Yep.
Advice.
But anyhow, I just want to make sure that everybody knows that the commissioners understand. Anyhow, anybody else on the question? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. So with you.
It's past your curfew, Scott, you're free to go. Thanks for coming. Commissioners, with your blessing, I'd like to work with staff and the solicitor to advertise an ordinance assessing fees and requiring an escrow for staff and professional service-related expenses associated with review and comments prior to submission of a land development plan. There are times when a developer starts to initially interact with staff and take up some of their time talking about initial ideas under sketch plan reviews and other things where we feel as though they should be billed for those services.
Somebody want to make a motion?
So moved.
Okay, we have a regular motion to authorize this, an ordinance. So, for the purpose of this, it's nothing we have to make a decision on now, except to authorize the ordinance,
Correct.
okay? Is there anything on the question? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Also, another ordinance that I'd like your authorization to prepare and advertise is relating to Chapter 22 of our land development ordinance, requiring under certain conditions land development plans to have a temporary emergency access to the site. For commercial buildings, it would be a larger building. We're proposing 15,000 square feet or more. And then for residential developments, it would be based upon a certain number of dwellings that would require that they install a secondary emergency access. I know Commissioner Gaspich had an individual conversation with me and suggested, Jeremy, if you'd make note of it, that we add to it that the secondary access be gated unless it's in a development similar to Hunter's Gate, for example, where there's an entrance on Lamb's Gap and an exit or entrance on Hunter that makes sense.
Yeah, I just don't want an emergency ingress egress becoming a shortcut for people.
Correct. Does somebody want to make the motion?
Some of,
Second.
Moved and seconded to prepare another Questions on the motion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. So with you.
The next item, again, credit goes to Dave and Scott relative to a proposal from Laserfish. That's your electronic document retention software. And what this improvement would do, and it was planned and budgeted for in 2020, would allow you to scan documents into the state-required PDFA format for permanent retention, and allow us to evaluate not having to store paper copies of documents any longer.
Move. Second.
Moved and seconded, one question. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Dave, I'll let you run with the next one if you would, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. You've got a memo from me explaining the situation with fireworks, but to make a long story short, staff sent out an RFP to several different fireworks vendors, actually one more than we had in past years, requesting prices for display for this year's fireworks event. We got pricing back from two different vendors. One is the same vendor that we've used since the inception of the event, now going that is the 7th year. That's American Fireworks. They were again the low bidder. They gave us a variety of pricing options. The one that we're recommending to you tonight, listed as option A, is an improvement over last year's event in terms of the altitude of the display. Last year we tried to make an improvement by deleting all of the shells that were 2.5 inch. They measured the diameter of the shell. The larger the diameter, I believe it's something like for every inch they go another 90 feet in the air. We deleted everything under a 3-inch shell last year. We only had 3 and 4-inch shells. I'm under the impression that made some improvement, but not enough. So this year's attempt will add additional 98, I believe it's 5-inch shells. So try to get the display a little bit more visible outside of the Navy base. Comes with a modest price increase, as noted in my memo, and I'd ask you to approve it. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Now, one step that Dave and Mike Erno took was to bid an alternate option, which is more expensive than what we've traditionally had in the past 6 years.
Yeah, that would delete the 3-inch shells entirely and make everything 4, 5, and 6-inch shells, but the cost goes up significantly.
Be an extra $8,000 for that display. And to give you an idea, we've always made it a commitment to try and secure sponsorships to offset the cost for the event.
Last year we got 14,500 in sponsorships.
Right, and that covered the entire cost, the concert, the
Yeah.
fireworks
Yeah,
and
that's the
everything.
thing to keep in mind, is you've got the cost of the porta-johns, the concert, tents, hand washing stations, so it's more than just the fireworks.
And the staff.
Yeah, so.
So likely if you went with option B at the 18,500, we wouldn't be able to raise unless we found the right person, the financial means to cover the entire cost for the event, if that's important to the board.
We have received two $250 sponsorships so far this year.
We'll put the press on.
Do we have a motion?
I move to adopt alternative
With American Fireworks.
I have a motion, is there a second? Moved and seconded on the question to engage American Fireworks.
Yeah, are we reaching out to the Navy to ask for participation?
Already did. Now, and I followed up, I did it in person, and then I followed up with a letter. And I've gotten a total response on the letter, which had about 12 items on it, of 0 so far. So I met with,
Marion.
Marion Sumner, Mayor Sumner, and I apologize profusely to her because I did not copy her with the letter. Now she's copied with the letter, because she told me, that's what I do, is follow up on these types of things. So, I just gave that to her, a few weeks ago.
Probably.
A week. So, but I do expect to hear back. What we asked for was a contribution towards the cost. We had a conversation with them about the event that they have inside the gate. And we thought that it would probably be worthwhile for them to participate in the cost of the fireworks that they're enjoying. So anyway, so we asked. So we asked them, and we haven't heard back yet, but good, it's a good point, we did do that. Thank you. Other questions? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Item G, Commissioners, there's several points that I need to make. One is, as you're aware, the Recreation Department via Mike Erno's efforts received a grant for improvements, proposed improvements to the Veterans Recognition Park. As part of the grant award, the state requires that you approve a resolution, which is in your packet, and I would recommend that you accept that this evening so that the grant agreement can be executed. I would expect in the coming month or so that Gary Coburn would be making a presentation to you relative to the VRC's master plan, and that it would depict some of these improvements so that you're aware of it and can make recommendations and approval.
I'll accept the motion to approve the resolution.
Jeremy?
I was just gonna say, if you're agreeable, Gary would like to present next month, February 27th.
That's all I use.
So moved on the resolution.
I have a motion that's been seconded on approving the resolution regarding the Vets Park grant. Questions on the motion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
The next component of it is we received some requests from the Connequin Greenway, Friends of the Connequin Greenway, who have a vision of trying to complete a master study of a number of municipalities on the West Shore to get interconnectivity of trail systems, both on and off-road, throughout the West Shore area. Their problem was that they couldn't apply for the DCNR Growing Greener grant. You were asked to consider applying on their behalf. I was directed last month to have them reach out to both COG and the county. They did that. Neither were agreeable to it, but they partnered now with the 501c3 entity of the Connequin Greenway Conservation Group, and they're asking, with them submitting the grant application, that the municipality just offer a letter of support for their application.
My understanding is they want a letter of support and they want a liaison,
Correct.
so.
Congratulations.
I'll take volunteers, I don't need volunteers, I'll be glad to do it, but.
You don't have enough to do.
It's all right, whatever, but I think first of all, I think that we should support whatever, they want
Just a letter of support.
a letter
I'll
of
make a
support.
motion that we support this, the grant application.
Second.
Moved and seconded to support it, I think it is a wonderful.
Absolutely.
Now,
Absolutely.
they've
What they're
asked
trying
us-
to do. What they're trying to do is they would like to have, I mean, this is cool, if they can ever pull it off. They would like to have a greenway that goes from the river to Chippenburg, or,
I don't think it goes
At
that
least
far.
right now, we're talking about East Pennsboro,
And
Hampden, and
Campbell,
Campbell, the 3 municipalities.
and perhaps Silver Spring.
but they were talking about it going way out eventually. But anyhow, what they wanna do right now is do the West Shore, basically. And it would be lovely if they could pull it off.
Absolutely.
Just a great idea. So anyhow, okay, have a regular motion that's been seconded. Questions on the motion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries.
So that leaves the township open for an application for the DCNR Growing Greener grant round that is available this time, which the submission deadline, as I recall, Dave, is April 22nd or thereabouts. And Dave spoke with Mike Erno, and Mike is suggesting, unless the board has other ideas, that you consider an application for a master study for possible park improvements at Smith Drive. That might help with the evaluation of what to do with that park facility, what the best options are for the community, so on and so forth.
Just to clarify, there is an existing master study for Smith Drive, but it dates from, I believe, 2007, 2008, and staff just doesn't have any confidence that it's still an accurate depiction of the needs of the township.
I agree.
Yeah, I looked at the plan recently, and there's some fields on that I think probably aren't high on the priority list.
Things change rapidly.
So things change, so, I think if we apply, okay, you said we apply for a grant that would cover a study? Is
Yes,
that-
sir.
Are we ready for a motion on that front, or do you want to?
Mike would need time to get his application and arguments together. He can't develop a draft grant application overnight, so it would be best if you have no other projects in mind, that we at least apply for it and see if we're successful in getting the funding.
Just for the board's knowledge, the grant does have a 50/50 match, so.
And how much is it usually? Maximum?
The maximum for planning grants, I wanna say is maybe 200,000, but I doubt we would get anywhere near that.
And Cumberland County just came out with a Cumberland plan, so that would be a nice thing. Is that the same, you were talking about the DCNR grant, right? And then there's also Cumberland County has a new setup for plans as well.
No, it would
Yeah,
be
just to develop a new master
a
plan.
conceptual plan for you to then contemplate and approve, and then build bid specifications and perhaps phased construction or complete construction.
I'll make a motion that we direct staff to develop a grant application for a consultant for the Smith, future Smith.
Second.
Moved and seconded, one question. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
I have nothing further, Commissioners.
Thank you very much. Next one to audience participation. Any item anybody wants to talk about? Comment? Welcome.
Hello, how are you? David Fish, 405 Lamppost Lane. I wanted to ask about the Brambles West final approval. Has that been done, that they're planning?
So the plan has been conditionally approved, as you likely recall.
Right.
But the developer has not met the conditions for the plan to be recorded at this point in time.
Okay, which has he not agreed to?
It's not that he has not agreed to them at this point, he
But it
just has
hasn't met
not met the conditions. I think the PennDOT approval is one, and then access to Richard Blue is the other primary conditions that I can think of off the top of my head, sir.
And the fire issues, were those
I think
addressed?
all the safety and fire code issues have been resolved, I believe,
Okay, and so what's the next step?
for them to address the outstanding conditions that remain.
And if they don't?
Then the plan, I understand, would then be deemed denied, or I'm not sure if that's the proper terminology, but if they cannot meet the conditions, there would need to be some modifications to the conditions, or the plan would just not be recorded.
Technically, you're right, but there is a one-year window by which they're supposed to meet all of the conditions.
Correct.
By which staff is tracking to ensure and ticking off which conditions they've met and which ones they haven't.
Okay,
Would that be deemed to be an application if they, would that be,
I'm sorry?
if they would come back in to try to change something, would that be a modification or a reapplication?
So I'll defer to the solicitor.
Depends on the extent of the request.
You understand why I asked the question?
I know exactly what you're asking.
So that you know, the ordinance was changed as far as the permitted use. That's not a permitted use in that zone anymore. So if for some reason that plan doesn't get done on the time that they're talking about, or if they think they need a modification to the plan, they'd have to find some other use, as I understand. Okay. Got it?
Yep.
Okay,
okay, thank you.
thank you, David.
Hello, gentlemen. Joe Kakos, 1606 Worthbridge Road. Mr. Metz, got a question about 9C. Do you have a model that you're going to design this ordinance on?
9C.
Yeah, the motion to authorize preparation and advertisement of
What's
an
this?
ordinance.
So that, we don't have a model ordinance. What we would do is we assess fees for staff review when land development plans are submitted.
Right.
And so we average weight the staff's compensation and benefits so that the developer incurs those expenses. And right now, in some situations, developers haven't yet submitted a land development plan, but they're interacting with staff and asking for initial review and comments. So the intent would be to recoup those costs